Hello, America, and welcome to the Older Bulls podcast. My name is Guy Calisi, and I'm going to be your host this evening. My partner, Chris, is out on the West Coast battling a little COVID, I think. Chris, hope you're better soon. And as soon as he is, he's going to be joining us. Like I told you last time, we're trying not to make this a monologue. It's supposed to be a dialogue, and we want you to join into the conversation, join in with us in the conversation. Whenever possible. So tonight, moving on. I'm not really sure where this is going, but we're going to start here because I've been thinking about this for a long time. Being nice, if it is a virtue, it is a lower level virtue at best. Nice is a word that I've always had a problem with. It is so nondescript. It means absolutely nothing to me. Why would you ever use the word nice? Think about it. Think about the times that you've actually used nice in a sentence, if you could come up with one in your head right now. And what were you really trying to say when you used the word nice? Okay, so let's talk about being nice and what it really means. Actually, before we get started, I have four-letter words I don't let any of my students use. Those of you who don't know, I'm an adolescent teacher. I teach 7th and 8th grade. I don't care if they use them with anybody else, but they can't use them with me. And those four-letter words, well, the first one is nice, followed by okay, fine, and then finally like. Not like that most adolescents say, like, like I was not that kind of like. I like it. I like it. That's the kind of like that I'm talking about. But actually, that whole thing is for another rant. Maybe it's worth having a little side rant right now. Let's put a bookmark right here, and I promise to circle back. These words have absolutely zero value. These are words, I think, the 4 words that I just said are words of mediocrity. A guy that I hung out with in college when I went to Illinois State, this was in the 80s, in 1986. I'll never forget him. His name is Mike, and Mike, if you're listening, hey. The guy I hung out with for a while in college, he had a perfect expression for words like this. Mike would have said, dude, that's so 5, which simply and perfectly expressed when somebody was saying or when someone was saying and or contributing absolutely nothing to the current conversation and nothing of value. It was based on a scale. His 5 was based on a scale of 1 to 10, and 5 is smack dab in the middle. It's indifference is what it is. So say that. Say, I don't have an opinion. I don't want to make a choice. I haven't really thought about it. Why be a 5 is what we would ask each other. It was so perfect. Have an opinion. Share your thoughts. Be offensive. Offend people. It's okay. Say something. Don't say fine, like, okay, nice. Say something. Contribute. Will you please? Okay, one last thing related to this topic, and I promise we'll move on. I tell my students, let me collect my thoughts here. I tell my students they always need to be camera ready, and just wait for the explanation. Not in a I'm so important, popular, special, and everyone is looking at me way, but in I owe the world my best effort all the time, every day kind of a way. I owe it to myself and everyone I come into contact with to be my best and to try my hardest to look, feel, and sound the part that I'm expected to be playing at the time. And that really has to do with being a 5. If you're true to yourself and you express yourself, you're honest about not having an opinion or haven't thought about it, you're putting me on the spot, I really don't know what to say, then that's being authentic. Don't hide behind these four-letter mediocre words, words of mediocrity. Don't do that. Say what you feel. And everybody understands that. And there's nothing like authenticity. Okay, so circling back, the likely repercussions of being nice is really what this is all about. If you have a problem, we know as adults, the best thing to do is not, capital not, let it linger or ignore it. If you don't take care of it, how do I say this? An analogy, I guess, the snowball rolling down the hill that turns into this massive thing of destruction. You have to get at that snowball when it's small, at the very top of the hill, right? Because if you let it collect steam and speed and let it build its strength and momentum, you're going to lose. The thing is going to crush you. What nice usually means is that I don't want to cause a conflict now, even though the consequences of not resolving the current conflict will most likely multiply in the future. It'll intensify if you don't take care of it now. I think the first part of that is more likely for most of us to be a conscious decision. I don't want to do this right now. It's more than I can handle. It really wasn't that big of a deal. And you talk yourself out of having that potentially difficult conversation. The not wanting to make a big ordeal out of something or just avoiding something, it's human. Having to have an uncomfortable conversation is something that a lot of people struggle with, especially if you're a leader, especially if you're an employer, especially if you're a teacher, even parents. You don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation because you know what's going to happen, a temper tantrum, whatever, and you just want to avoid it. You want to just snuff it under the rug, but you can't. And the second part of what I said earlier is a bit more unconscious, but often comes with very real consequences. And that unconscious part is that it just will multiply and become bigger in the future. We don't really consciously think about that as an outcome, but it's there. Not dealing with it, whatever it is, it doesn't matter, creates the potential to build resentment, anger, and bitterness. And you're not doing the other person that you didn't deal with any favors by letting them off the hook, by not saying something in the moment. What you are really saying is that you're willing to be taken advantage of and that their lack of discipline will be tolerated. You're going to let it slide. Then, hold on, because we aren't finished yet, you will likely amplify their future mistakes because you have unresolved issues now, which will inevitably lead either to putting up with this kind of behavior or having a very bad confrontation down the road, which is going to be blown way out of proportion because you're already pissed off. And then they keep messing up. So you are at this elevated state of irritation, and they keep doing these little things that normally really wouldn't mean much to you, but now it's just amplified to the 10th degree. So now you've contributed to making the situation way worse than it was originally. The snowball is huge now. It's a monster that you've created. Truly, it had nothing to do with the offender. Really didn't. It had to do with the fact that you were ill at ease and you didn't deal with it. I'm not confronting the beast when it's small and cute and harmless. Instead, you decide to wait until things become so big and scary. It has become a hellish, unmanageable nightmare. So why would anybody choose to do that is my question. It makes absolutely no sense. Now, at this point, you can no longer just say the one thing that you originally needed to talk to this person about. Instead, you have to talk about everything else that happened after that original confrontation that you passed up the opportunity to deal with. And this is going to be a very destructive conversation. There's no avoiding that. I mean, I know a lot of you might be more Buddhist and more Zen than I am. I'm not perfect by any means. And when I'm talking about this stuff, this is because I've done these things. I didn't start in a place where I didn't have to think about all of this stuff and it just came naturally to me. This is all based on my learning experiences, everything that I share with you. So that very destructive conversation, oh my. But remember, this happened because of your unwillingness to say something that may have been a little uncomfortable. Yikes. That's what I think, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you, America. See you next time.